This is Internet Marketing. Brought to you by SiteVisibility at sitevisibility.co.uk. This is Internet Marketing. Now, before we start today, we'd like to encourage anyone looking for help with their digital marketing to get in touch with SiteVisibility. Whether you have a burning digital marketing question or you're looking for an agency to work with, they'd love to hear from you. Give them a call, +44 1273 733 433, or you can fill out the form at sitevisibility.co.uk contact. Alternatively, you can talk to either Scott or Sean because they have a live chat function on the website. They'd be more than happy to help. Now, today I'm joined by Scott Brinker, VP Platform Ecosystem of HubSpot and blogger for Chief Marketing Technologist. Scott, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. Very, very well. Nice to speak to you again because you were last on the show, if I'm not mistaken. I've done my research here. It's back in January 2014, so about 4 years ago. So it's been a while.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. Apparently I didn't mess that up badly enough because you've invited me back, so thank you.
No, it was fine. I mean, the conversation was 3 hours, but when we've edited it down to about 20 minutes, it was fine. No, you were fine.
If my wife could do that for me, she'd be so happy.
No, I seem to believe you had a very interesting conversation back then about sort of agile in marketing, and we'll sort of won't exactly talk about agile, but we'll have some sort of progressive discussions about marketing in a second. But first, just remind everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do, Scott.
Sure. So I live at the intersection of marketing and technology as two disciplines. I've been writing that blog, Chief Marketing Technologist, or chiefmartech.com, for years now. Yeah. Also the program chair of the MarTech conference. And then last year, I sold my company, Ion Interactive, and I've since joined HubSpot, digital marketing sales platform, as their VP platform ecosystem. So helping HubSpot do a better job of partner and work with all these other cool marketing technology companies out there.
Now, you work in a very interesting area because, as you say, you're in this. I was going to use the word hinterland, but I'm not. It sounds a bit Germanic. This area between technology and marketing, which I think is quite a big area. But what's been happening recently? Because we talked about it last time. We talked about agile in marketing last time. But the ever-expanding marketing technology landscape, what's been happening since 2014 when we last spoke?
Oh, wow. It is. If it was once the hinterland, now it is a bustling metropolis. So I've been working at the intersection of two disciplines, marketing and technology, for a while now. I started that blog, Chief Marketing Technologist, or chiefmartech.com, back in 2008. So I've been at that for about 10 years. And then last year, I sold the MarTech company I was running, Ion Interactive, and I joined HubSpot, a platform for digital marketing, sales, and service, as their VP of platform ecosystem. And my mission there is to help HubSpot do a better job of engaging with all of the other amazing marketing technology vendors out there in the world.
Now, I'd quite like to talk about something we actually had a brief discussion about before we hit record, which was the democratisation of technology, which in marketing, and to a degree also in general, but mainly in marketing. Before we drill down into that, just your definition of what a democratisation of technology actually means. These days, democratization doesn't always imply a fully positive thing. It's been a tough few years on the democracy front. The idea of democratization of technology isn't making it political. It's about being able to give more people greater access to leverage technology in their day-to-day work. A lot of technology, right, for years was always held in the tower of the IT department. If you wanted some new piece of software or some new sort of capability, you got a ticket in line with IT and you waited, whether it be weeks or months or years or, moved on to new jobs or whatever, right? Yeah, you waited until you finally got that technology and was very controlled by them.
And what's happened here, steadily in so many different ways over the past 10, 20 years is more and more of that technology has been unlocked in the IT department and increasingly given into the hands of business users. And so in marketing, we've certainly seen this as much as anywhere else. This is where you have these marketing technology teams and marketing operation teams that live in marketing and actually control a lot of this power and technology.
Can you give us a couple of examples of where this is happening?
Sure. So, one of the ways in which this movement gets characterized is by the label of citizen technologists. So this idea of like a citizen developer. What does that mean? Okay, if you wanted to build an app, like 10 years ago, basically you had to have a software engineer who understood, deep programming languages, Java, how to architect this stuff, and they would build that app for you. Fine, but, not all of us were software engineers, and, getting a software engineer, wasn't always easy, fast, or cheap. But now there are these software tools called low-code or even no-code platforms that become these drag-and-drop interfaces that allow, frankly, any business user to be able to say, oh, I want to build an app that will do X. And they just be able to, build this thing together, drag and drop in a very visual way, hit publish, and boom, you've got an app. And so the label the industry has applied to these people is citizen developers. I mean, they're not professional developers. They actually do something else for a living, but they now have the power to say, oh, I want to have an app to do this. Bam, I can make this myself. And that is so incredibly empowering, such a game changer to business technology.
And are all these people, are they all marketers or are they general people? Because I remember listening to you in a video, I forget when you did it was a year or two ago, and you were talking about, in fact, I'm pretty sure it was you were talking about the things, what marketers are actually doing without realizing it is they're being like programmers, because they're sort of doing, if this happens, then that should happen. And then we go through this flow and then we do that other process. So are these normally marketers that are using these tools, or are they sort of just general people?
Yeah, so the group of them that I'm most interested in are how marketers are using these tools. But this isn't a phenomenon that's limited to marketing. We're seeing this with, people in customer service are building customer service apps. People in HR, are building HR like recruiting apps. I mean, it's a pretty wide-ranging change of power to build and manage software in the hands of regular business users.
Yeah. And do you think there might be I'm just trying to think ahead here. Do you think there might be a danger of sort of losing the human side of marketing with all this sort of like drag and drop and automation?
I'm so glad you brought that up. It is a danger. I was a friend of mine reminded me of the movie Fantasia with Mickey Mouse as the sorcerer's apprentice. And he like starts off like, okay, I've got this magic power. Okay, I will have the broom go and fill the bucket of water for me. And wow, isn't that cool? Yeah. Automation, I love it. But then that automation starts to replicate and scale and scale and scale. Next thing you know, you've got like hundreds and hundreds of brooms dumping hundreds and hundreds of buckets of water, and it's a total disaster. And the irony of it is, right, it's the same automation. It's just, what works at small scale, when you start taking it to the extreme, which in automation is so easy to do and not even realize we're doing it, can have these really negative consequences. So let me give you an example in marketing with, the way we work with customers is email nurturing, right? So it used to be if you wanted to send an email to nurture a set of people in your marketing funnel, a marketer would write that email, send that email, and it was a very human, there was a human in the loop on making that happen. But now with some of these automation systems, right, there are AI engines that can automatically generate the right text for these emails. They can go into some sort of programmatic loop that says, okay, well, I'll send an email. And if I haven't heard any response in a week, I can send another email. And if I haven't heard any response and so on. And, you set this up and, take your hands off the wheel and you're like, oh, wow, this is great. This automation is going to handle all these contacts for me. But what's happening on the customer side is then without any human actually thinking through it, suddenly customers start getting bombarded with these emails that just don't stop. Yeah. And it's a terrible experience. And they unsubscribe and they, turn it off. So I think we got to be very, very careful about putting the right sort of governance and oversight for all this automation that we're bringing to marketing.
Yeah. Now, you just alluded to something there, which is quite interesting. It was I'll call them customers. I mean, some people might call them victims of marketing, but we'll go with customers or clients. There's the customer side, their experience, and then there's the marketer side. They're sort of pulling all these levers and doing things to try and get their brand into the psyche of the various clients. Do you think that this kind of democratization and automation is perturbing the balance between the two? I mean, you mentioned that customers were getting a bit annoyed at times because of automation, which we hear about occasionally. I've certainly experienced it. Do you think that situation is getting worse or better?
This is where it comes down to how you use it. So if you're using these democratized tools as a way to solve customer pain points, to make things better for customers at different touch points. Like you realize, hey, I'm missing this capability where a customer wants to be able to check on a status of something, instead of having to wait for IT to take 6 months to add that feature, to the website, to have a mechanism where actually, the marketing team itself can pretty quickly add that feature to the website, right? This can be applied, this power can be applied in a way to solve customer pain points and create a better experience. But given the example we just talked about earlier, it can also be used to, just harass the hell out of, customers or create really bad experiences and get disconnected from that. So I'm not against the technology being used. I think there's a lot of potential here for this to make relationships between brands and their audiences better, but it doesn't happen automagically. You have to really, focus on making sure, are we doing this through the eyes of what is going to be a better experience for the customer?
Yeah. So for our listeners, could you distill maybe 2 or 3 top takeaways for them?
Well, let's see. If I was going to offer a couple things that I think everyone in marketing should be thinking about. So first of all, when it comes to marketing technology, don't get too distracted with shiny objects. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that keeps coming out every month here. And I mean, you should look at a certain amount of it, right? I mean, we all want to stay current with what these new tools are, but the majority of your focus really should be on a solid foundation. Making sure you have, good customer relationship management, good marketing automation, a good website. Yeah. Getting those things right is still a huge part of the battle.
The fundamentals.
Yes. That if you don't get those right, all the other, shiny baubles don't really matter that much. Yeah. And then I think related to that is, talking about this democratization of the technology, I think there's an opportunity for marketers to really look at how the technology can empower both frontline marketers, but also frontline salespeople, frontline customer service staff, be able to better serve the customer in the moment, that they have access to the data, they have access to the tools to be able to execute actions on behalf of the customer. That is super powerful. And I think that kind of leads me to that final takeaway, which is, to avoid that risk of losing the humanity in all this marketing automation is Marketers really need to invest in empathy and intuition, with customers, which means getting out from the office, spending time with customers face to face, a little bit of that anthropology, of the marketing, and just make sure that, we aren't losing touch with what our audience really finds important and valuable about our brand.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for coming on. How can our listeners find out more about you?
Well, my blog is chiefmartech.com, and I'm also at Chief Martech without the H on the end at Twitter. Scott J. Brinker at LinkedIn, and feel free to reach out to me or yell at me or anything like that on any of those channels.
Scott, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks a lot. And thanks for listening, everyone. The show notes are in the usual place, sitevisibility.co.uk/IronPodcast. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us a review. If you've got questions or suggestions, you can email podcast@sitevisibility.co.uk. You can tweet at SiteVisibility. We have a SiteVisibility LinkedIn group. Well, that's all from me, Andy, and it's all from Scott.
Take care.
Thanks, Scott, and we'll see you next time on Internet Marketing.